3 over this. And now, guess what? Today, the Navy commander of the Fifth Fleet was on ABC and announced that, that voice might not have come from those vessels. So what does that mean? Was there a rush to judgment on this, ready to go to war? And there are people in this administration and in Washington, D.C. that are looking for the chance. They were so disappointed with the national estimate on intelligence. And they were disappointed that there's no attempt to build weapons in Iran since 2003. So what? I just don't see this rush to judgment.
Well, wait a minute. All of these people I've asked this question to so far have said they supported the decision to be passive. What are you responding to?
I'm very sorry. I can't hear a word you said. You'll have to speak up.
Every one of your fellow candidates have said they supported the commander's decision to respond passively. I just wonder what you're reacting to.
I don't know.
Oh, well, I didn't hear that. Of course, we want caution, but I'm worrying about the policy of why we're looking for a justification. Now there are no weapons. Actually, people are looking around for an excuse to bomb Iran. I mean, we're already, with our CIA being involved in trying to overthrow that government, and we don't need another war. And this incident should not be thrown out of proportion to the point where we're getting ready to attack Iran over this.
Governor Romney? If it happens, happens again.
I think Congressman Paul should not be reading as many of Ahmadinejad's press releases. But let's
Make fun, buddy.
I think Iran represents a very serious threat. I do not believe this action was taken by rogue elements within the Iranian forces. I believe it was calculated, and I believe it was designed to test our defenses. I believe it was also designed to rattle a sword to the Arab neighbors to see that they could go after the Straits of Hormuz. I believe as well that this was a diversionary tactic for them to consider other actions in other places. And so I believe it was a very serious act, and the Iranians continue to take acts like this. It points out that we have in Iran a very troubled nation, and we're going to have a comprehensive strategy with our friends and with some others who we need to pull into our circle of friendship to put extraordinary pressure on Iran. And I've been speaking since January about tightening dramatically the economic sanctions, the diplomatic sanctions, directly communicating to the Iranian people. And I believe, by the way, I can see you want to get the rest of the answer to that. Of course, this commander did exactly the right thing. The captains did the right thing.
If it happens again?
And in the same circumstances, I will put my trust in the hands of these captains, and they're taking the right course. Of course, they should take whatever action is necessary to protect their ships and protect their personnel. But this is part of a much broader effort to get Iran to finally pull into a more reasonable status, and that is something which is going to take a more comprehensive strategy than simply thinking about how we respond to gunboats like this.
Thank you, Governor. Wendell Goler has the next round of questions. Wendell?
Gentlemen, let's continue this discussion of national security. Senator McCain, you and Joe Lieberman today published an op-ed declaring the surge of troops in Iraq has worked, though you warned against bringing home more troops this year than we sent to Iraq last year. Can Republicans win in November with Democrats arguing that there's been no real reduction of troops in a war that is now longer than World War II, a war that you yourself say a Republican administration mismanaged for the first 3 years?
Can the Democrats win an election when they continue to deny the facts on the ground that we are succeeding? Can the Democrats deny that casualties have come down, that the provinces like Anbar are peaceful, that Baghdad on New Year's Eve, thousands of people poured out in the streets to celebrate the new year? Can Senator Clinton retract her statement to General Petraeus when she said she would have to suspend disbelief in order to believe that the surge was working? In fact, you would have to suspend disbelief that it's not working. And I say every time I'm at a town hall meeting, Al-Qaeda's on the run, but they're not defeated. Today is a historic day, my friends. Today is the day that the President of the United States announced the change in strategy, the so-called surge. I supported that. I argued for it. I'm the only one on this stage that did. And I condemned the Rumsfeld strategy before that. And I'm telling you, it's succeeding, and these young people are going to come home, but no, it's not going to be decided by any politician in Washington. It's going to be decided by the man that should have been in Time Magazine Man of the Year, General David Petraeus. That's who should decide when American troops come home. And I am convinced that if we continue this successful path, Americans will be able to come home. But the most important thing, there will be a reduction in casualties, and we can win. And then these young people will come home, and they will come home with honor.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Giuliani, President Bush is in the Middle East right now, laying the groundwork for a Palestinian state. He thinks he can be successful this year. If so, a Giuliani administration would introduce a new era in U.S. Mideast relations. I wonder, sir, how you would keep a Palestinian state from becoming a breeding ground for anti-American terrorism.
Well, I think the most important thing is the steps that the Palestinian Authority now takes and how realistic they are to accomplish at least three things. First of all, to make it clear that it will accept the right of Israel to exist as a Jewish state. Number two, to forego terrorism, first as a statement of policy and then in reality, something that has to be tested. You know, Ronald Reagan had a theory of trust but verify. So we get the statement of policy that they will forego terrorism, and then we're going to want to see a period of time in which they've actually accomplished that and we don't have terrorist acts. I'd also like to say something to my friend John. John gets great credit for supporting the surge. But, John, there were other people on this stage that also supported the surge. The night of the president's speech, yes, John, the night of the president's speech, I was on television. I supported the surge. I've supported it throughout. I believe that the goal in Iraq has to have from the beginning, a stable Iraq that will be an ally of the United States. And we should return troops from Iraq on success. That has been my position since 2003. It has never changed. I respect the fact that you haven't changed yours. I haven't changed mine either.
Can you respond to that? 30
My point
seconds.
was that I condemned the Rumsfeld strategy and called for the change in strategy. That's the difference.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Congressman Paul, can we go back to the Middle East? You have said the United States should not be trying to broker peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians. Should the president even be there today, sir?
Well, if you followed my advice, yes, we wouldn't be there. We've been doing that for a good many years, and it hasn't seemed to come to success. No, I think if we weren't there, there'd be more incentives to come to a peaceful agreement. But we support both sides, you know, not only with the Palestinians, but the Lebanese and all the Arab nations. We support Israel, and we try to have this balance. But I think it'd be much better to have a balance by being out of there. And I think there'd be a greater incentive for Israel and the Palestinian and all the Arab nations to come together and talk, because I think we get in the way too often of these. And besides, it's costing us a lot of money. It's costing us lives now. And it's time that we come to the point where we believe the world can solve some of their problems without us. And also, we're out of money. We can't do it any longer. We're going bankrupt. And the empires of the world have always ended badly through economic terms. So whether there are peace agreements over there, I mean, for instance, if we would stop all aids over there, we would stop 3 times as much aid as Israel gets to the Arab nations. Why do we arm the Arab nations? And they're the enemies of Israel. But we continue to do that. So why don't we trade with everybody and talk with them? And there's a greater incentive to work these problems out. I think if we'd have been out of there a lot sooner, there may well have been a much different settlement after the Kuwait invasion, because Israel was quite capable of working with moderate Arab nations. They tried to. None of the Arab nations wanted Saddam Hussein in Kuwait. And I think they could have taken care of Saddam Hussein back then and saved all the mess that we have now, because I think there are so many unintended consequences and way too much blowback.
Thank you, sir.
Could I just make
gentlemen.
Could I just make a comment? I'm not interested in trading with Al-Qaeda. All they want to trade is burqas. I don't want to travel with them. They like one-way tickets.
Governor Huckabee,
May I answer that? May I answer that?
Yes, Congressman.
I'm talking exactly about that, because that's what we have been doing. We used to support Saddam Hussein, and we used to be allied with Osama bin Laden. And what I want to do is stop that. Who are our friends one day turn out to be our enemies. Right now, we finally got rid of Saddam Hussein. And what are we doing now? We're rearming the Sunnis, the old henchmen of Saddam Hussein. And what